Hi and welcome to the online lecture on Programs of Assessment, a programmatic approach towards assessment. My name is Joost Dijksra and I am a teacher at the MHPE program. What is a programmatic approach towards programs of assessment? When we look at assessment programs, we go further than the single instrument. We look at everything that is related with assessment. This includes elements like the single test or standard setting, but it also includes all activities that have to be executed in order to have an assessment system up and running. You can imagine that this includes a lot of different elements, and I will provide you an overview in a minute. More important is that it implies that by definition any assessment system within an institution can be seen as an assessment program. However, not per definition a high quality program, and it does not per definition include a programmatic approach. In this presentation, when I refer to assessment programs, I mean the result of a programmatic approach towards assessment. But what makes the difference between a program of assessment and a programmatic approach towards assessment? Like a test is more than a random set of items, a program of assessment is more than a collection of instruments. As you know, conceptions of professional competence are changing and more emphasis is given to outcome-based and competency-based education. Traditional standardized knowledge tests no longer meet the needs. This is not to say that we should abandon these instruments, however we need to complement these traditional tests with new modes of assessment. This sounds great in theory, but it does not provide us guidelines for how to design assessment programs. The programmatic approach is in the first place a design approach, placing the design process of assessment programs more central. This implies that we do not start with what we have, e.g. a specific instrument, but with the goal. What do we want to achieve with the assessment program, and plan our assessment from there. This implies looking at competencies as a whole and designing or improving the whole system, instead of optimizing a specific element, which might lead to the decrease of the quality elsewhere in the program. For instance, this also implies that a weak instrument, let's say on reliability, does not have to be scratched from the program, but can serve a specific purpose, and can be compensated with another instrument with high reliability but other contributions to the goal. Central in this way of thinking is the goal. In this case, the goal is to have a state-of-the-art assessment program, which is not the purpose in itself, but which is aligned with the educational goals and objectives of competency-based medical curriculum. Of course, it is no surprise that goals take a central position. However, we want to stress how strong the influence of the goal is. We therefore also define an assessment program in terms of fitness for purpose. Also looking at the quality of the program, how does it manage to meet the goals? Let's look at some difficulties in assessment programs. When we talk about competency-based education, and some problems spring to mind. For instance, what is competency as a whole? Is it more than the sum of the parts? And how do we cover everything? Or how do we align the assessment with the education? What is the impact on student behavior? And how do we make sure we do not have redundant information? Do we have longitudinal assessment? And how do we implement that in the assessment program? And what else? Did I think of everything when designing an assessment program? Let's look at what defines quality of an assessment program. Just let's make a start first. We have the instruments for collecting the data. No single instrument can capture competence completely, so we have to use multiple instruments. But when do we know when we have efficient data collection and no redundant information? Also, we have to combine the results and value the data. We have quantitative, qualitative, human judgment, etc. What is enough, and when is enough enough? A next step is taking action. Do we have a pass-fail decision, or do we offer remediation for not passing a test? And finally, we have quality procedures, assurance and organizational safety nets to make sure that the quality of the assessment program is high. But still, these are only a few elements of the assessment program as a whole. I will now present a model of all different things that you can think of when analyzing a program of assessment on a programmatic approach. First, we have the program in action. The program in action are the core elements and activities that you need to have in order to have an assessment system up and running. As you can see, we have again the collecting information in which the instruments are embedded. You have to combine this information and value this information, and you have to take some kind of action. But the fourth step, the quality procedures, are not in this box immediately. As I said before, we have to relate everything to the purpose of the assessment program. Does it fit the goals? The first kind of quality step is supporting the program. We have technical support, it means you have item review panels, for instance, or psychometric analysis, but also faculty development. And we have the political and legal support. Do stakeholders, like students, find this assessment program acceptable? Is there any possibility for appeal against the decision? The third layer is documenting the program. Documenting in which kind of context or learning environment this assessment program will take place. Rules and regulations. What do we expect from students and what can students expect from us? And of course, blueprint. What instruments and what content is in the assessment program. Documenting is an important step to be able to refer to the assessment program later on. A fourth dimension is improving the program. After the program is in place, we have to evaluate the program, and to close this loop we have to develop new ideas or change things in the program. A second box is change management, which is important because every change will lead to resistance somehow from students or from teachers. The final dimension is accounting of the program. This is more to the outside world. By doing scientific research, we can develop a program of assessment evidence-based, and we can build new theory. Of course, you're all familiar with external review, accreditation, visitation, etc. But also cost effectiveness is an important step in this model. Can we optimize our assessment with lower costs, or can we, with the same cost, do better assessment? And finally, we have political and legal accounting. Not everything is possible within a specific context or within a specific nation. Next, this is not in a vacuum, but you have an infrastructure in your institution and all kinds of different stakeholders. These should all be taken into account when designing a program of assessment. But a key message is, high quality assessment is fit for purpose. Now this is a lot of information, and these are a lot of aspects you have to cover when designing or improving a program of assessment. But how should you use this model? How to apply this model to your own context or to the assignment? First of all, these are areas of thinking rather than answers. You can identify underserved elements in the program or see where the program fits the purpose, but you cannot expect clear-cut answers from this model. Secondly, pay attention to the context and the goals. Do not blindly copy a good practice you know into your own practice. But keep in mind that you have different stakeholders and a different infrastructure. Look at the big picture. Do not suboptimize isolated elements or relations. Of course you have to make some compromises, but make these compromises so that it contributes optimal to the big picture, to the goal. Please keep asking yourself, why do we do what we do? Why do we do this assessment in a certain way? What is our goal? Instead of, we have this, so we use it. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please put them on the discussion board on Ilium, and we will refer to them on a later time. Thank you for your attention.